midnight in Florida. The humidity is, well, it's thick enough to choke you. A call comes into the 911 dispatch center. And it's the voice of a grieving son, panicked, breathless, bordering on hysteria.
Right.
He claims he's just arrived home to find a nightmare. His house ransacked, his mother missing, his life just shattered. If you listen to that tape, the distress, it sounds visceral.
It does. It sounds like a child whose world has just ended.
A compelling performance.
It is a compelling performance. But while Gregory Ramos was sobbing for the dispatchers, performing that role of the terrified child, he was secretly admiring his own work. He didn't just commit a murder, he attempted to curate a masterpiece of deception.
So tonight we're opening Dossier #25, the Gregory Ramos case. And we're not just looking at a crime scene here. We're looking past the boy's mask and into the void of a developing sociopath.
Our objective is to conduct a post-mortem of a mind. We need to analyze why a 15-year-old boy viewed the murder of his own mother, Gail, not as this tragedy, but as a logical puzzle to be solved.
A puzzle.
A puzzle. We're looking at a very specific psychological anomaly. A cold, calculated vanity that led this teenager to believe he was somehow superior to the laws of, well, physics and forensics.
So let's begin where the officers did. The scene. Or maybe more accurately, the scene of the stage play.
That's a good way to put it.
When Volusia County officers arrived at the Ramos home, they walked into just absolute chaos. Every single cabinet in the kitchen was flung open.
Glass everywhere.
Glass littering the floor shards of smashed cookware.
Yeah.
The bedroom closets, they were emptied, contents just dumped in piles.
And of course, specific high-value items were missing. A gaming PC, a stereo system, and a compound bow.
Right.
To the layman, this looks exactly like a burglary gone wrong, but this is what we refer to in profiling as post-offense staging. And immediately to a trained eye, the frequency is just wrong.
So
the scene was too loud. It was a caricature of a burglary. I mean, think about the psychology of a genuine intruder. Their adrenaline is spiking. They have one goal: acquisition and exit. Get in, grab high-value items, and get out unseen. They do not take the time to open every single Tupperware cabinet.
it's just not efficient.
No, they don't smash distinct pieces of glass just for the visual effect.
So it was theatrical, not practical.
Precisely. It indicates the subject was trying to construct a narrative for the police, rather than the police just discovering a crime that had, naturally occurred. He was trying to direct the movie.
He wanted them to see violation.
And so he created this huge visual representation of chaos. But in doing that, he revealed that the chaos was manufactured. Real entropy, it isn't that thorough.
But the narrative Gregory was building, it wasn't limited to the furniture or the shattered glass. It extended to his own face. During that initial police interview, while officers are still trying to figure out if this is a kidnapping, a robbery, detectives noticed fresh scratches on Gregory's cheek.
Which is a massive problem for his story, right?
It's huge.
If he just came home and found the house empty, where did the scratches come from?
And Gregory had anticipated this. He applied concealer makeup to hide the defensive wounds his mother inflicted while she was fighting for her life.
And when that failed to hide the marks completely under the harsh interrogation room lights.
He didn't panic. He had a script ready.
And this is where we see the concept of narcissistic supply come right into play. A typical liar, a scared kid, might say, "I fell," or "the cat scratched me." Simple, forgettable excuses. Gregory didn't do that.
No.
He fabricated this incredibly elaborate scenario involving a person he named Joe L.
It was so detailed for a lie that was supposedly constructed on the fly. He claimed that at homecoming, a girl was grinding on him. He rejected her because he was focused on, and I'm quoting here, other things.
Of course.
He claimed this Joe L. then attacked him for rejecting the girl.
Look at the architecture of that lie. It serves two purposes. First, it explains the physical evidence, the scratches. But second, and this is what's more important to Gregory, it feeds his ego.
He positions himself as the protagonist.
He positions himself as the desirable protagonist. I mean, even while he's being interrogated about his missing mother, he feels this need to paint himself as the morally superior victim in a completely unrelated, fictional social drama.
He detailed an apology, a hug.
A reconciliation where he took the high road. It's chilling.
He cannot just be a suspect.
Yeah.
He has to be the hero of every story he tells. It's a deflection, sure, but it's a vanity-driven deflection.
It creates a reality where he is mature, forgiving, sought after. It completely ignores the gravity of the actual situation to focus on his own social standing.
Yeah.
A normal mind, even a guilty one, would be consumed by the immediate threat, the investigation. Gregory is consumed by his own image.
As the interrogation went on, the cracks in this performance, they started to widen. But they didn't widen through panic, which is what you'd usually see. They widened through this chilling form of boredom. He sat with his arms crossed, often guarding his stomach. Classic defensive posture. But his verbal responses were just so dismissive.
So the detectives finally pivot to his relationship with his mother. They needed a trigger.
And he gave them one. He described a recent argument about a D grade in biology. He described it, but when he summarized his mother's side of it, her pleading, her concern for his future, he summarized her voice as, and I quote, blah, blah, blah.
And stop right there. That phrase, blah, 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 that's the key diagnostic indicator of devaluation.
Right.
To Gregory, his mother's existence, her concerns, her very voice, it was just noise. It demonstrates a complete lack of any emotional attachment.
It's almost like he's describing a faulty appliance, not a human being.
We call this callous-unemotional traits. He isn't angry at her in that retelling. He's indifferent. She is an inconvenience to his reality, an obstacle he needs to remove. When a person becomes an object in your mind, violence becomes a logistical solution, not a moral failing.
The blah, blah, blah tells us everything.
It tells us he had already turned off his empathy long before he ever raised his hands.
And remove her, he did. The confession, when it finally came, it was devoid of passion. It wasn't some tearful admission. He claimed the murder was preemptive self-defense.
Preemptive self-defense. The term itself is a paradox.
That's the term he used. He told detectives the argument over the biology grade escalated, and he realized that eventually, sometime in the future, one of them would kill the other.
So he decided to
take the initiative.
You see the attempt there to rationalize the irrational? He treats matricide as a preventative measure, like fixing a leaking roof before it rains.
It's a massive distortion.
It is a massive distortion of logic to justify an impulse. He wants the detectives to see his logic as sound. He wants to be understood as pragmatic, not murderous. He's trying to appeal to their sense of reason, unaware that his own reason is, well, monstrous.
And the pragmatism he displayed during the act itself is horrifying. He described strangling her for 30 minutes.
30 minutes. We need to be clear about what that means. Strangulation isn't like in the movies. It is difficult. It involves a struggle, sounds, immense physical exertion. To sustain that for 30 minutes requires a level of commitment that is, well, it's hard to comprehend.
When he thought she was dead, he went to the garage to get a wheelbarrow. He came back, found she was still moving.
And he just resumed the strangulation until she stopped.
Then loaded her into the wheelbarrow because he told detectives, dead bodies are heavy.
It's just mechanical. This isn't dissociation in the traditional sense, where the mind breaks from reality to protect itself. This is a transactional interaction with a physical object.
The mother has ceased to be a person.
She's biomass to be transported. The wheelbarrow is a tool of yard work. He was effectively taking out the trash.
He drove her to a church fire pit to bury her. He used bleach to clean the area, not just for DNA, but to sterilize the smell. And maybe the most disturbing detail of the entire disposal. While he was digging his mother's shallow grave, he was casually listening to music.
And that detail, it recontextualizes the whole event. For most killers, even hardened ones, the disposal is a moment of high anxiety, panic, horror. It's when the reality of the crime really sets in.
But for him, it was a chore.
It was a chore. Listening to music while digging suggests he was regulating his own stimulation. He was keeping himself entertained while performing manual labor.
That's the ultimate manifestation of affective flattening, isn't it? The emotional signal is a flat line. He's just a kid doing yard work, except the yard work is hiding his mother's body.
But we have to widen the lens here because Gregory didn't act entirely alone. This brings us to the accomplices.
Dylan Siglar and Brian Porras, his peers, his friends. They didn't kill Gail, but they helped bury the evidence. They helped stage the scene.
And we need to analyze the peer group psychosis that was operating here. Why did they help? Usually an accomplice is motivated by fear or, by greed.
But they weren't promised millions of dollars. They weren't threatened. They helped for the stolen goods, the gaming computer, the bow, and for the thrill of a good story.
Transactional morality. It speaks to a frightening malleability in the adolescent brain when it's exposed to a dominant sociopathic personality.
Gregory actually bragged to detectives that he outsourced the staging of the crime scene.
Outsource?
He told them he had Dylan and Brian kick in the door to simulate the break-in because their kick was, quote, impressive.
Again, it's business language. This is a diffusion of responsibility mixed with that transactional view. For the accomplices, the murder was an abstract event that Gregory handled. Their role was the cleanup,
Right.
which they viewed through the lens of a video game or a movie. They were looting the level after the boss fight. They were helping a friend move a couch, except the couch was a crime scene.
The interrogation of Dylan Siglar. It provides a terrifying window into this mindset. When detectives pressed him on how he could assist in something like this, Dylan admitted, "There's a part of me that knows I should feel bad, but can't feel anything for it."
That is a profound admission of desensitization. It suggests that within this peer group, empathy just wasn't a currency they traded in. They created a micro-society, a groupthink environment, where the gravity of murder was diluted.
If the group doesn't react with horror,
The individual feels justified in their apathy.
the detectives used the prisoner's dilemma pretty effectively here. Played the boys against each other until the location of the stolen items unraveled the whole plot.
The physical evidence, that creates the case. But the audio evidence, that creates the nightmare.
This is the part of the dossier that stays with you long after the file is closed, the cruiser audio.
Walk us through the environment.
After the confession, after the body is recovered, the three teenagers are placed in the back of a police van together. They're handcuffed.
Right.
On their way to be processed for murder and accessory to murder, they know they've been caught.
At this point, reality should be crashing down. The adrenaline has faded. The parents are being called. You'd expect silence, tears, panic about life in prison.
Instead, we hear the banality of evil in its purest, most teenage form.
What did they talk about?
Mundane, trivial inconveniences. They complained about missing work. They were upset they were losing out on their $15 an hour wages. One of them complained that because of the arrest, they were going to miss a birthday party that weekend.
Just think about that scale. On one side, the violent death of a mother, the destruction of a family, life imprisonment. On the other side, a minimum wage shift and a birthday party.
And in their minds, the scale is tipping toward the party.
It's absurd. It disproves the idea that they were in shock. They weren't in shock, they were annoyed.
Exactly. They even joked about the prison toilet, noting there was white stuff all over it. They were laughing.
This confirms the callous, unemotional traits weren't unique to Gregory, or at least they were contagious in that moment. The reality of the situation, that a woman is dead, buried in a fire pit, and their lives are over, it just didn't penetrate their narcissism.
They were inconvenienced, not horrified.
Worried about the loss of a paycheck, not the loss of a human life.
And then the singing started.
This is perhaps the hardest part to listen to.
In the back of that van, handcuffed, facing life sentences, they began to sing snippets of pop songs. Alien Boy by Oliver Tree, Kryptonite by Three Doors Down.
And specifically,
they sang the line, "I'll hunt you down like a Tyrannosaurus."
it's a regression to juvenile behavior in the face of adult consequences, but it also signifies a total lack of grasp on the moral weight of what they've done. They're bored, they're just entertaining themselves.
To the very end, the murder was just an event that happened, something to move past so they could get back to their lives. The final nail in the coffin of Gregory's character comes from his own mouth, in those final moments in the van. He turned to his accomplices and asked them if they heard his 911 call.
He didn't ask if they thought he would get away with it. He didn't ask if they thought the police believed him.
No. He asked for a review. He said, "She should give me a Grammy for that."
And there it is, the narcissistic supply again. To Gregory, the emotion he showed on that call, the tears, the panic, it was just acting. It was a skill he deployed. He wasn't thinking about his dead mother. He was thinking about his performance rating.
He wanted his friends to admire his ability to deceive. He was proud of the lie.
It makes you realize Gregory Ramos didn't lose his humanity that night in Florida. The cruiser audio, the singing, the concern over a $15 an hour job, it proves he never had it to begin with.
This case serves as a stark reminder of the limitations of profiling. We look for trauma, we look for snapping points, we look for abuse, but sometimes you're just dealing with a mind that operates on a different system.
An operating system where people are objects, and murder is just a logistical hurdle to be cleared on the way to a birthday party.
Dossier #25 is closed. We often look for monsters hiding in the dark, lurking in alleyways. We teach our children to fear the stranger. But the evidence in the Ramos case suggests something far more disturbing.
What is that?
Sometimes the monster is sitting right at your dinner table, eating the food you cooked, waiting for you to become a logic puzzle they need to solve.
Until next time.
Stay watchful.